Home teams have won all three so far in the Eastern Conference Finals, so a simple formula tonight for Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. Keep that trend going in Toronto and tie things up at 2 apiece. Kawhi already has more 35-point postseason games than anybody in Toronto history. Giannis Antetokounmpo had a career-high 23 boards in Game 3, but like the rest of the Bucks starters, struggled to score. Nonetheless, the Bucks say there is no reason not to feel good going into Game 4 tonight.
I think we're a hungry group. I think we're very versatile, very skilled. We have a great player in Giannis, but I think we have a team that's hungry, that wants to win, that has had some tough seasons in the past. And, this year we've realized we have a special team that can really do it.
We want to be aggressive just in general. We're always, I think, the more aggressive team usually is the better team. And, the way we play offensively, it's just, hopefully we're moving the ball, we're moving people and being aggressive and making good decisions. And it's not about a player or a defender, and both for us and for them.
Kawhi did play 52 minutes. Do you maybe see a chance to jump on him? Because even though he had the day off, he will be more tired.
For sure. This team, leans on him heavily. So there's a lot of pressure and, a lot of, responsibility on him. So we have an opportunity to make it even tougher for him as he wears down. Me and Chris have been thrown at him just one after the other, and I think that can continue to wear him down.
Hey everybody, it's game time ahead of Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. That happens north of the border. Good to see you there. Here from our Atlanta studio, I'm Matt Weiner. Greg Anthony right over there. The Jet, Jason Terry. The Raptors made a series of things in Game 3, surviving a 2-overtime slog of a game to avoid an 0-3 hole. Obviously, a big part of their success in Game 3 was limiting Giannis to just 12 points on 5 of 16 shooting. Is that repeatable tonight?
Definitely repeatable. They have to continue to do a great job of building a wall, right? Toronto did a great job of building a wall, not only in transition, but also in the half court. Zoning up off of Bledsoe, who has been inconsistent from outside in long range in this series, and then loading up on Giannis when he did not have the ball. I think that's very important, continue to dominate that aspect of the game.
Well, I would go a step further. I'm not sure Bledsoe's been inconsistent. He's been consistent, just not very good in this series, shooting the basketball so far.
Yeah, and listen, it wasn't just Giannis. Their starting five, 19 to 69 from the field. They did not shoot it well. They did not shoot threes well. And I thought their inactivity on offense really hurt them and Giannis. Their inability to really move eyes. And by that, I mean they allowed Toronto to load their defense to Giannis. They didn't really do a lot of cutting. They didn't do anything in terms of moving feet, moving eyes of Toronto. I don't care how great you are. When 5 sets of eyes are able to load on you and really dictate what you're going to do, makes it very hard for you to get opportunities. And you can just see they got 4 guys standing around waiting to see what Giannis was going to do. They're going to have much better motion. And Toronto also was really good with their defensive transition. So I thought if you're Milwaukee, you've got to play faster. You've got to get guys on the move. Again, same thing. It's like, it's like Groundhog Day. They basically, there was just no motion, no movement, no ball movement. Let's just throw it to Giannis and get out of the way. At this level, that's not going to get it done against the teams that are left playing. When you talk about Toronto, Golden State, they've got to do a better job. Here he had an opportunity to make a play, but Marcus Gasol, great strip down there on that play. And so they're going to have to figure out ways to get him better looks, maybe some post-ups, running sets, which you don't see a lot of in the NBA, but they're going to have to do some things differently. They can't allow, especially on the road, Toronto to continue to lock and load defensively.
You see just 10 points in the paint after leading the league in the regular season in that category. And remember Game 1 of the Celtics series when Boston was so effective at doing some of the same things, walling off Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you thought, oh, this is interesting. Celtics may have something going here, and then they lost 4 straight. Milwaukee sort of flipped the script on them there. Offensively, you mentioned it wasn't just Giannis who struggled. Kawhi Leonard single-handedly outscored Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Eric Bledsoe in Game 3. And the difference between the two teams really is that the Bucks were in this game largely because of their bench, 2 20-point scorers from their bench. Toronto doesn't seem to have that at their disposal, and Kawhi, it appears, is going to have to be a force of nature if Toronto is going to win this series.
Well, Kawhi will continue his dominance. He's been so throughout the playoffs. He's averaging over 30 points a game. In 5 consecutive games, he scored 30-plus points. He's on a mission. He knows he carries a tremendous burden of scoring and shutting down Giannis, but he's capable. He is the best two-way player in our game, and he's led this Toronto Raptors team the entire postseason.
Yeah, and listen, I think that Kawhi Leonard's been the most consistent performer in the postseason, bar none, from game one to this game. Mm-hmm. He literally has not had an off game in the postseason. And to your point, yeah, he's got to play well. But I think they're getting other guys going. You know, Siakam, who was abysmal in Game 7, you know, he's starting to bounce back. Lowry's had a 30-point game in this series. I thought Marc Gasol played his best game of the postseason in Game 3 as well. And then you had the huge impact from Norman Powell. So they don't necessarily have as much depth, but they do have other areas where those guys can impact it. Like Serge Ibaka can still be a deterrent defensively. You know, he can still have those areas of the game where he can impact it, maybe not scoring it. It would be nice for them to get Fred VanVleet going.
Yeah.
They need something positive. He needs something positive because if they get anything out of him, then they can go to their small ball lineup with he and Lowry in the backcourt together. But, you know, every game takes on its own personality. And so, like, just because something happened in the last game doesn't mean it's going to play a role in this one. So I wouldn't be as concerned about that. It's always nice to know that our main guy, our main cog, is going to be there, which is going to create opportunities for everybody else.
And when it's not flowing offensively, he's creating his own opportunities because he's been so good defensively as well. There's not that many things that I think the NHL does better than the NBA. By the way, go Blues. The St. Louis Blues from my hometown can win their way into the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. But this is one of them. They have a playoff MVP, as opposed to just a finals MVP, which the NBA does. I've always thought there should be a playoff MVP over the course of the 4 rounds. If such an award existed, who would be your playoff MVP at this point?
Damn it, Matt Weiner, I just told you it was Kawhi Leonard. I don't think there's – and listen, you're going to get some people that say Steph Curry, and he has been great. But, you know, he's playing – by the way, even though he didn't play in the last series, he's playing with a guy who's averaging 34 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, so he's gotten a little bit of help. Giannis has been terrific as well because, like Kawhi, he is a dominant force on both ends of the floor. But to me, there just has not, for a team that hadn't had much impact off their bench, they haven't had a consistent second option the entire postseason.
Right.
For this guy to have this team where he has them with what he's done, to me, it's not even really close in terms of the overall impact. KD would probably be on this list had he played, but you can't get on the list if you miss an entire series.
You miss a whole round of the playoffs. Yeah.
I can't have him on there.
Argument for Steph would be?
Well, I cannot disagree with you with Kawhi. Obviously, his impact, without him on that team, they're not even in the playoff picture. But Steph Curry's impact since Game 6, taking over in Houston, going scoreless in the first half, dominating in the second half against Houston, winning that series, and then his imprint on the series against Portland was just pure dominance. 27 points per game throughout the playoffs, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. And in that last series, Steph Curry averaged over 35 points a game. He was automatic.
Are you with me on the award, though?
Yeah, I like that idea.
I like that idea.
You know what? I'm going to give Adam a call, and I'm going to text him tonight.
Let's make this happen.
In all seriousness, though, I think it is a great idea. You know, I would say the only issue, though, is generally speaking, and we just had this conversation in our pre-production meeting, how are you going to get the MVP if you don't get to the finals?
Right.
Well, you might never.
You know what I'm saying? So generally, because the way I look at it, if you win the finals MVP, you probably have been the MVP of the postseason because you got your team to the final.
But there have been exceptions over the years.
Andre Iguodala
probably wouldn't have been the playoff MVP.
True. There's
and you could do
two.
both also. You could have a finals MVP and a playoffs MVP.
Yeah, like GA, to your point, remember on the losing team a couple years ago, LeBron, dominant performance in the finals, but they lose.
Jerry West won that award once in a losing
There you go.
won MVP of the NBA Finals. Anyway, Pascal Siakam, 25 points in Game 3. Speaking of the other folks who need to contribute offensively, obviously he's the number one candidate for them. He only got off 9 shots in Game 2. What do they need from him tonight?
Well, he has to continue to maintain his aggressiveness. For me, it's when he rebounds the ball in transition, attacking first. The mindset is, I am going to put pressure on the Milwaukee defense, get in the paint, create offense for myself first. And when he plays with that sort of assertiveness, it opens up his perimeter game. We know he's a much improved three-point shooter, especially from the corners. He's very efficient. And when he gets his confidence going, it's because he's been getting out in transition, getting steals, and then creating opportunities for himself in that capacity.
He showed me something, believe it or not. I think it was game 2 where he actually – no, I'm sorry, in game 1. He took 20 shots.
Yeah.
Now, he only shot 6 of 20, but as Jason will attest to, when you take 20 and you don't shoot well, that means you're engaged.
Yes.
You know, because a lot of times with complementary players, if they don't hit one of those first 5 or 6, they may not take another shot. They'll start looking to do other things. But he took the onus to be aggressive, to take shots, and he understood that. And he followed that up in game 3 with his best game of this series. And so, but to me, he's an energy and activity guy. When he is active, he's going to have an impact on the game, you know, because of the athleticism and the improved skill set offensively. And I tell you what, it takes a lot of pressure off of Kawhi to have another guy out there. And remember also, he's going to have a lot of responsibility in guarding Giannis.
Absolutely,
you know, so for him to be able to do both, it takes a lot of energy to have to defend that man and then still be counted on to score offensively. But he's shown the last couple games that he has the fortitude to do it. And if Toronto wants a chance to win this series, and more importantly to win tonight, he's going to have to play well.
It's a good point about passing up shots, though, because we've seen some of that tentativeness from Kawhi's teammates over the course of the playoffs so far. Can't have it if they're going to tie up this series tonight in Game 4. The Western Conference champs await the Raptors or Bucks in the finals. We'll get into Golden State's 5th straight finals appearance next. Live look at Toronto. Raptors are 6-2 on their home floor in the postseason. It'll be a great scene inside and, of course, outside as well at Jurassic Park. TNT and the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NBA crew have the coverage at the top of the hour, including Shaquille O'Neal. Congratulations to you and everybody else on the show on the Emmy last night.
Thank you very much. You know, it's a great place to work. I miss working with you guys. I love the Jet. I love Greg Anthony. I was just telling Greg, how does he feel that his son dunked on me, but he never dunked on me because he was a terrible player. The statute of limitation is up now. He was a terrible player. He was overpaid. He was overrated. Pat Riley made him who he is on the defensive end. What's up?
I'm a little hurt.
Love you guys.
I'm a little hurt that you don't love me as well. You love the Jet. You love Greg. Nonetheless,
Man, I saved the best for last.
He's going to put you in a commercial, though.
Some look at this series, Shaq, and say, all right, wait a minute. The Raptors needed 2 overtimes at home when Giannis had 12 points to get a win. On the other hand, Toronto had Game 1 in hand before they let it get away over the last couple of minutes. Where do you stand on where we stand in the Eastern Conference Finals?
It's kind of a different situation, but believe it or not, it's a must-win for both teams. On the Milwaukee side, you don't want to give the Toronto Raptors confidence, right? You had them down 0-2. You had them in double overtime. Giannis didn't play his best game, and, you know, they had to squeak to get a win. So, you know, right now they're a little bit more confident. If they get the win tonight, they'll be more confident. Then it's the best out of 3. Anything can happen. Now, if you're Toronto, you don't want to go down 3-1. We want to say, okay, maybe we got lucky the last game, but, you know, we know what we have to do. We have to keep Giannis to 12, and we have to just, you know, make some smaller adjustments. You know, guys like Marc Gasol and Danny Green, they just have to continue to be aggressive.
Yeah, big fella. Speaking of Marc Gasol and Danny Green, Fred VanVleet, you know, those 3 guys have really struggled throughout the series. Obviously, Gasol had a great game in Game 3, but Danny Green and VanVleet have yet to find their range from long range. Is there any concern from a Raptors perspective if those guys are going to be able to get it going this series?
Well, you know, if you're playing at your worst, there's only a couple places to go. You know, hopefully they can catch fire. I used to always, you know, tell my shooters, hey, man, keep shooting. I'm going to keep kicking it to you. Leave it when you shoot. I knew a guy by the name of Jason Eugene Terry. Every time he shot, he left it. All the great shooters leave it. Just leave it. And, you know, Danny Green, we know he's an impact player, especially in the playoffs. Hasn't found his range yet. But if, and it's a big if he can find that range, then, you know, maybe, you know, Toronto can get back on track.
Hey, big fella, talk a little bit about, you touched upon it with Matt, the psychology of a 7-game series and how each game takes on a life of its own. You know, like, it doesn't really matter what happened in Game 3, how you won or how you lost, but you won it. And now it's like you got a clean slate in the next game. And so Talk about that mindset that you and your teams experience when you go into situations where, like you talked about it, this is in essence a must-win.
Well, let me tell you about the championship formula, especially when you have home court advantage. You say, okay, the first 2 home games, we got to win. We got to be comfortable on the road. Now, when we go play game 3, let's get this game, right? So adjustments will be made after that game. If you win that game, we say, all right, let's close it out. If we lose that game, then we say, okay, we don't want this thing to be tied up. We got to get game 4. So, the perfect way to think about it is you win all your home games and you steal a game on the road. That's how, most championship teams think. But you can't be playing around with guys. Once you have people down, you have to keep them down. So this is a must-win for Milwaukee and a must-win for Toronto tonight.
Well, Toronto's got to feel good if they can keep it close again because of Kawhi Leonard, who may be the best closer in this series. He had 36 in Game 3. He scored more points than anybody in the postseason so far. What's impressed you most about his playoffs?
I like his game because, a Mark and Jet will understand this. He's the guy in the park. Doesn't have a lot of herky-jerky moves, but he's like the old guy in the park. You just can't stop him. No matter what he does, you just can't stop him. He definitely has an old man's game. I love the way he plays. Definitely plays the right way. I love his story because it's a story of a guy that wasn't really a high draft pick but worked his way to the top. We all know he started out in San Antonio with the system. Greg Popovich was always, taking players that we don't know about and made them great players. And, he's a top 5 player in this league because of hard work and, his mentality. So I love the way he's been playing. Really fun to watch. But I have to disagree with you, Matt, about keeping it close. If I'm Toronto, I want to blow this team out tonight.
Well, sure. Ideally, yeah. That would be better, wouldn't it? A blowout win is better than a close one. I can't disagree with you there. That's Shaquille O'Neal doing his work north of the border tonight. We'll see you at the top of the hour on TNT.
Matt, I love your beard. If I was there, I would kiss you. I kiss you, Matt, and I liked it. And I balance and
I look forward to that. I will see you in the finals, so maybe that happens. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, you will.
All right, talk to you soon. All right, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks. Figure
when did he kiss
You're taking the over on 12, right?
When did he kiss you?
He didn't.
You sure? That's what he just sung. He said, I kissed Matt.
I think it was a prediction.
Oh.
The TNT crew obviously very hard at work getting set for
DJ
their
at home.
pregame coverage.
Back in his hood.
No, he's in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He got people there, too.
Sure.
Hey.
Everywhere's his hood, right?
He's a man of the people.
Congratulations, by the way, on the Sports Emmy last night for Ernie Johnson, outstanding studio host. Yeah, good for him.
That's a team award, too. That's really.
Is it?
Yeah.
They all get the trophy? I thought.
Well, I guess like the MVP. That's a reflection of the team.
Okay.
He got a little bit of that MVP Dirk got.
Right.
He got a little piece of that.
You got a little chunk of that,
I got the V.
Great scene outside in Toronto. Let's go inside and hear from head coach Nick Nurse.
Evening, everybody. Start with Doug down front and to your right, Coach.
Nick, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. Yesterday you said Kawhi was rested and a little bit sore. Is there any update on his health? And how do you think he'll adapt to playing 52 minutes and coming back and playing 44 hours later?
Well, we're gonna have to see. I think Doug, but I think he's, I saw him pretty early yesterday, and he was pretty, I think, positive. He was still tired from the night before, but he said it's a long way to game time, and I got some rest too, and then I'll be ready to go. So, it looks good so far. We'll see. But I think Doug, he's, I've listened to some of the stuff he said too, and he's like, it's playoffs, man. Everybody's a little sore, and nobody's 100%, and everybody's getting banged around a little bit. So this is part of the deal if you want to advance in the playoffs.
To John, just right behind Doug, Coach.
Coach John Schumann, NBA.com. You switched his minutes from resting at the start of the second and fourth to the end of the first and third, it seems like. Was that just to match up with Antetokounmpo, or was it something different?
It was just a little different. We just wanted to give ourselves a little bit different rotation to start the second and the fourth was primarily it, and we just trying to it didn't work out very good the other night. We're trying to not make the stretches quite as long, I think I mentioned before the game we're trying to shoot for – 10 minutes, as a long stretch instead of, I don't know what it turned into the other night. It was 10 straight there in overtime and probably, 22 straight, something like that. It's a little over 10, but that was difficult circumstances.
To Eric, coach in the middle, to your left.
Eric Corrine, The Athletic. With how dangerous they are and have been in transition, do you tweak your offensive rebounding approach or rules if you have them at all and mention that to your guys?
I think so, Eric. I mean, I think, I think way back at the beginning of this series, I said that our offense was probably the key to our defense, right? And taking care of the ball, getting a rhythm, shot selection, and then our decision on who went and how many went and all that things. And I think, we're kind of tweaking that each and every game as we see opportunities to go. I mean, we still want to go. We think we got some guys that can offensive rebound, Serge, Pascal, Kawhi especially. When we're big, we think we got some chances to go. But it's got to be a quick decision. If you think you got a, legitimate shot at it, go for it. And if you don't, you got to start making an assertive move to get back. And, again, why there just isn't a whole lot of dividends if you go in there and you don't get one and you're paying the price on the other end. If you go chase one and don't get it and they get a transition 3 on you, then you're going to have to get 2 more offensive rebounds to make up for that, right? So the payoff on it is really all you're thinking about. Is it paying off to go or not?
To Eric.
Eric named The Athletic. Nick, we've obviously this whole series talked about it's not a one-man job on Kawhi or Giannis, and no matter who it is. But what do you like specifically about Kawhi as that first defender for Giannis?
Well, I mean, I think what Kawhi brings, regardless of who he's guarding on or he's matched up on. Excuse me. He's got great size. He's got great strength. He's got a really good instinct to play defense as well. So he's showing you a lot by just presenting himself in front of you. He's got good feet. And, I think probably, I'm going to say this fourth, but it probably should be first. Like, he wants to stop you. And that like goes a long way. And those are 4 pretty good things.
Another one from John, push down to your right.
Coach, I have another rotation question. You had opportunities in the fourth and overtime the other night to go to the 2 bigs together, which you did in the fourth quarter of a couple of your close games in the previous series. Is there a reason that didn't come about this time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, again, you always go into the game with some ideas of things you're going to work or some things that you're going to try that you're going to evaluate quickly. And I guess my only answer for that is I just wasn't feeling that as a good lineup at the particular time. And I felt like the rest of it was pretty good. I think, we were getting really good play out of Norman, right? Pascal was playing great. Mark was playing great. Freddie, even though he didn't shoot it great, played great. I mean, he got put in a situation where he had to lead his team for at least 6 minutes plus 16 straight minutes as the point guard, and I thought he got us into execution stuff really well, and he defended really well. And I guess I just wasn't feeling the big lineup. I thought we were going to have to get to it in the overtime because I think we had at least 2 more guys on 5 fouls, so I was ready to go with it again, and that's just try to get your best players on the floor. But I just think that Fred, Norm, Pascal were impacting and Mark were impacting the game so great, and there was one other guy out there, Kawhi. So you just weren't going to take those guys out.
To Dan.
Nick, serious business strategy and whatnot being discussed inside and outside. They're still playing catch.
Eric named The Athletic, but after game 3, Giannis talked a lot about being aggressive, and obviously he's made a point in these first couple of games to make the right pass, make the right play. How do you try to encourage him to find the the right balance in that spot?
Yeah, I mean he's got a big job. I would say he's been practicing all year, and I think he's done a really, really good job of balancing, his scoring and his aggressiveness and his attacking the paint and attacking the basket with seeing and reading defenses and helps and rotations and creating great opportunities for his teammates. So, it's like a lot of the times the answer is he's just got to keep doing what he's been doing. Get better as the series goes on. Hopefully be better tonight, and have a lot of confidence that he will be.
Do you feel like you want him to be more aggressive?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It's the aggressiveness with still making great reads and great decisions. You can't just all of a sudden ignore what the defense is doing or presenting, and he's got to have a great balance. And I think we have to play well around Giannis. Giannis has to play well. It's a team sport, and I think the beauty of it is they've been doing it all year, and certainly him being aggressive though is important.
Matt Velasquez, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Talking about aggressiveness, you've mentioned that in regards to Eric a whole bunch of times. Just how can you put him in situations where he can be more aggressive and get to the paint more and affect the game in that way?
Yeah, always the first, point for Eric and probably Giannis, those two the most, is when we get stops and we get out in transition, and hopefully we have good spacing for Eric and he can attack in the open court, but you're not always going to get that, in the half court. Hopefully after the ball's moved some and maybe it comes back to him after it's changed sides and the defense has moved, there's cracks and opportunities. And lastly, obviously, we still play, some traditional old-fashioned NBA pick-and-roll basketball and give Eric some chances in pick and rolls and screen on the ball for him and give him opportunities to be aggressive and attack the paint.
Right in the back.
Louis Satzman, Raptors Republic, right here. Toronto's been playing their key guys in the high 30s, low 40s for a while, but this was maybe the first time you've had to stretch a lot of your key guys' minutes. How are they feeling? What's the fatigue like on the team?
Yeah, just observation is good. They seem upbeat and energetic, and anytime you have a double overtime game, the minutes are going to get stretched, as you mentioned. Hopefully ours a little less than theirs, and hopefully we've put some money in the bank during the season and during the first two rounds of the playoffs, and the guys are appear really good and really fresh.
All right, Game 4 coming up in just a little bit. Do you have a gut feeling about what's going to happen tonight in Toronto?
What Ben Crenshaw said? I got a feeling.
What is your feeling?
Toronto might even this thing up tonight. I got a sneaky feeling they might even it up.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be a close ball game, hard fought, possession here, possession there. I know one thing, Milwaukee cannot have 20 turnovers tonight.
No.
Expect to keep this thing close. Danny Green, Fred VanVleet have to shoot the ball better for Toronto.
Show up, show out, baby.
They can't shoot it worse, right?
That's what Shaq
do, right? At some point, they've got to hit some shots. Danny Green has been such a good playoff performer over his career, knocking down the three ball. You would think at some point it's got to happen.
Yeah, and also if you're Milwaukee, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, they combined to shoot 6 of 32 in Game 3.
Bledsoe's 9 of 38 for the series.
Yeah, well, he got a little Van Vliet in him this series. Van Vliet is having one of those. So whoever steps up out of those supporting guys, because I think Giannis is going to have a good game.
Well, Milwaukee, as dependent as they are offensively on the three, they're shooting 29% from three-point range over their last 5 games now. And still up 2-1. WNBA preview is coming up next, and of course we will return after Game 4 is in the books from Toronto with plenty of post-game coverage here from Atlanta, because that's what we do.
That's what we do, baby.
See you later.